Most people seek medication from a doctor, but don't seek the understanding that addresses the root cause. I speak with such conviction because I lived it. My health suffered because of fear, constant stomach aches, debilitating headaches. No painkillers worked. That's when I realized I didn't need to fight the fear. I needed to understand it, and once I did, it lost its power. Did you know that over 70% of people report financial anxiety every month? It's not my invention, it's research data. Why? Because most believe money is scarce, not meant for them. The economy is bad. Fear disguised as an excuse. I always ask those seeking my advice, are you afraid to try or afraid to fail? Reflect on that. They're different. Trying is action, failing is a result. You only control the action. The rest is learning. I remember sitting in a small room, counting the coins I had to pay a past-due electricity bill. The fear was so intense my hand shook. But in that moment I made a choice. Instead of asking, what if it goes wrong? I asked, what do I need to understand to make it right? That question changed everything. I'm not saying eliminate fear completely. Fear serves a purpose. It stops you from jumping off a cliff without a parachute. It's a warning. What you need is to manage that fear, make it your ally. And that only happens with knowledge. Once I understood how the mind works, the conscious, the subconscious, the paradigm, I learned to recognize fear before it became a monster. Today, I see many people say they fear investing but keep using credit cards like there's no tomorrow. That's not fear of losing money, it's lack of discipline and knowledge. Those who understand the rules of money, who study, who plan, don't fear investing because they know how money works in their favor. Let's do an exercise. Identify your biggest fear. Write it down, then write everything you don't understand about that fear. I guarantee the more you understand, the smaller it will become. And if a sliver of fear remains, go ahead anyway. I went ahead countless times, afraid, and in the end, the fear was never as big as it seemed in my mind. Don't fall into the trap of numbing yourself with distractions or medications that only mask symptoms. Confront the fear at its root. It's only big because your ignorance is bigger. Replace ignorance with understanding and watch the fear shrink. I ditched the uniform, grabbed my cleaning supplies and went door to door. There was nothing special about me. I just had immense fear and an even greater determination not to be its slave. I did it, and I say this from the bottom of my heart. If I conquered fear, you can too. The only question is, when will you decide? Repetition is the simplest, yet most ignored secret for those dreaming of changing their lives. And I'll show you why it's so powerfully effective. Everything you do automatically today, from tying your shoelaces to complaining about Monday, you do because you've repeated it so many times it's become automatic. It's what most call habit. I call it mental programming. What few understand is that the same mechanism that makes you complain about life without realizing it is the same that can lead you to prosperity without conscious effort. It's all a matter of what you choose to repeat. I remember when this became crystal clear to me. I was still a beginner, struggling to understand why I reverted to old bad habits even after reading so many books. Then my mentor asked, "Bob, how many times have you reread the same paragraph?" I replied, "Once, maybe twice." He smiled and said, "Then you haven't read anything yet." That stung, but I understood. A new idea doesn't stick in the subconscious on the first or second reading. You need to feed your mind the same thought repeatedly until it accepts it as absolute truth. That's exactly what I did. I'd grab Think and Grow Rich, open it to the same page, read the same sentence dozens of times. I'd walk around the house talking to myself, "I'm rich, I am prosperous, I am capable." If someone had seen me back then, they would have called me crazy. But today, who's the crazy one? Me, or those who keep saying, I can't, I don't deserve it, I'm not lucky. Everything in the universe obeys a law. What you cultivate grows. A plant, a debt, a belief. Repetition is watering the soil of your mind. You can water a seed of scarcity or prosperity. The choice is yours. Many think, Bob, but I don't have time to repeat affirmations. I ask, how much time do you waste repeating that your life is hard? How many hours a week do you spend reinforcing that you're not good enough? Repetition is already in your life, but most of the time, it's dragging you down instead of lifting you up. Consider social media. How many times a day do you repeat the gesture of scrolling? How many negative sentences do you read unconsciously about crisis, unemployment, violence? Every scroll is a repetition that fuels fear, comparison, insecurity. Now imagine using that same time to repeat phrases that build confidence, clarity, certainty. The difference is enormous. Want proof? Look at Michael Phelps, the greatest swimmer in history. He didn't just train his body, he mentally repeated every stroke, every pull, every touch of the wall. He repeated victory in his mind until it became impossible for his body to fail. It's not magic, it's neuroscience. The brain doesn't distinguish mental repetition from reality. For him, it's all stimulus. And where there's repeated stimulus, a habit is born. I did this with money. When I opened my cleaning business, I mentally repeated, I earn $100,000 a year. It was so absurd for someone earning $4,000 that I laughed at myself. But I kept repeating it. And guess what happened? My behavior changed before the money arrived. I started seeking better clients, charging more, dressing better. The money was just a consequence. You won't see changes in the first repetition, nor the second. Maybe not even the 10th. That's where most give up. People want to plant today and harvest tomorrow. But the human mind isn't a microwave, it's a garden. Those with patience harvest. Those in a hurry pull the seed before it sprouts. So, if you want results, start small, but do it right. Choose one powerful affirmation. It could be something like, I am worthy of wealth. Repeat it 100 times a day, aloud, as if it were the most undeniable truth in the world. Do this for 30 days without fail. There will be days when your mind will mock you, say, liar, look at your bank account. Ignore it, keep going. That resistance is your paradigm starving to death. I did this for years, I still do, and I will until the last day of my life, because I know that without repetition, my old paradigm returns, and I refuse to live like that anymore. I want you to decide now. What will you plant in your mind? Patterns that keep you limited, or patterns that make you thrive? Success isn't an event, it's a routine. And routine is disciplined repetition. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and imagine who would you be a year from now if you decided to repeat the strongest, wealthiest, bravest version of yourself every day. The answer isn't in the world. It's in the only thing you completely control, what you choose to repeat. Start today, never stop, and one day you'll look back and smile at how small your old self was. That's how it was for me. That's how it will be for you. Faith isn't something mystical, unattainable, or limited to those who spend hours praying for a miracle. True faith is understanding, it's clarity on how things work. I discovered this when I realized that every time I trusted without understanding, I failed. Blind faith is like building a house on sand. The first wind and everything collapses. But faith born of understanding is like laying roots in a rock. Nothing can uproot it. When I started studying how the mind works, I understood that fear and faith are twins. Both require believing in something invisible. The only difference is the object of belief. Fear makes you believe in the worst-case scenario. Faith makes you believe in the best. And guess what? 99% of the time, the real scenario is never as bad as fear paints it. But it's also never as good as it could be because you didn't have enough faith to act. This became crystal clear when I was invited to speak to a group of executives at a large company. I was just a guy with ideas, no academic background. I sat in my car before going in and felt my heart racing. In that moment, I could feed the fear. Bob, you're not good enough to speak to these men in suits. Or I could use my knowledge. Bob, you've studied, you know what they don't know, and they came here to listen to you. I chose the second voice. I walked into the room. The presentation was a success, and from there contracts emerged that opened doors worldwide. See, faith isn't the absence of doubt. Faith is acting despite doubts because you understand the mechanism of the game. It's knowing that if you plant, you will harvest, even if time tests you. Modern science confirms this. Studies show that people who genuinely believe in their goals release more dopamine and serotonin, substances that maintain focus and reduce stress. Conscious faith shapes even the physical body. Meanwhile, those who live in fear generate excess cortisol, the stress hormone, and over time destroy the immune system. It's not me saying this, it's decades of research. Do you really think it's worth sustaining this negative chemistry inside you just because you're stuck in old paradigms? I learned to nurture faith in the simplest way: daily practice. While many doubt, I affirm, every human being can train faith like they train a muscle. Want proof? Look at Elon Musk. Do you think he would have launched rockets into space if he had followed the logic of the critics? He understood the game. He had faith in what he studied, not in what fear dictated. Result, he made history. Now look at the opposite. I've seen brilliant men with better ideas than Musk's die in debt, frustrated, full of regrets. Not for lack of intelligence, but because they had excess fear and lacked grounded faith. Faith is an engine. But it's no use having an engine if the tank is empty of understanding. That's why I studied every day. I needed to understand the origin of my fear, how my mind worked, why my body reacted with cold sweat and trembling when I heard the word failure. When I understood all this, fear no longer stopped me. It came, but I looked at it and said, I know where you came from. Sit in the back seat because I'm driving. You need to do the same. Every day, take a few minutes to review what you want. Not what you fear. Write it, visualize it, feel it. Faith needs to be fueled by sharp images, strong words, and daily action. It's not enough to just wish. You need to see it in your mind, repeat it with your mouth, and build it with your hands. I'll give you a challenge. For 30 days, when you wake up, close your eyes and imagine in detail what your ideal life is like. Smell it, hear the sounds, touch the textures in your imagination. Then take a single action, however small, that brings you closer to that image. Do this every day, without interruption. What will happen? Your mind will understand that it's not a dream, it's a plan. And fear doesn't resist a plan executed with understanding. Faith without action is superstition, and action without faith is futile effort. But when faith, understanding, and action walk together, there's no crisis, no pandemic, no excuse that can stop you. I'm living proof. And you? Will you be another believer in fear, or someone who lives the power of faith based on knowledge? Choose right now, because every passing second is an investment. You invest in fear, or you invest in faith. I made my choice, and I sincerely hope you make yours. Are you the architect of your own mind, or are you a puppet dancing to the tune of old habits, hidden fears, and unconscious beliefs? The uncomfortable truth is, if you don't take the reins, someone else will. And believe me, it happens every single day, subtly, silently. Most people delude themselves into thinking they're free thinking, but they're just replaying worn-out tapes, ingrained convictions, past traumas, anxieties, all interwoven into a limiting pattern I call a paradigm. This paradigm dictates your morning alarm, your grumpy commute, your overspending, Your perpetually postponed plans for next week. It's ironic, almost tragic. We pride ourselves on rationality, yet we often function like automatons, programmed for slow, steady self-sabotage. I know I lived that life for years, aimless, directionless, completely unaware of my potential for change. I bounced around, factory work, gas stations, changing tires, detailing cars, anything. I just obeyed. Obeyed what? A crippling paradigm whispering, "You're not worth much, so don't expect much." Ever considered how many paradigms silently govern your life? When someone mentions achieving significant wealth, what's your gut reaction? Self-doubt, right? That's not for me, you think. I lack the education, the connections, the right background. That's your paradigm speaking. And the scariest part, it whispers so softly, you mistake it for your own voice. My old job as a firefighter was a perfect example. Steady paycheck, crisp uniform, job security, nobody left. You'd retire old, tired, but secure. But inside, I was screaming. I knew I was capable of more. Fear held me captive. The thought of quitting sent shivers down my spine. Then, a guy named Raymond Stanford handed me a book, Think and Grow Rich. It was a wake-up call. Page after page, I began to understand. It wasn't the outside world that needed changing. It was me, from the inside out. That's when I made the craziest decision of my life. I quit my firefighting job to start a cleaning business. Cleaning, no experience, no plan, no clients. What did I have? A paradigm shift. I started seeing myself as capable, not subservient. Consider this. In what area of your life are you stuck? A hated job, a stagnant relationship, a soul-crushing environment, yet you repeat the same routine daily, as if there's no escape. Do you truly believe that's all you're meant for? A paradigm is an invisible cage. It doesn't yell. It whispers, stay quiet, don't stand out. What if you fail? Don't even try. And you obey. Here's a harsh truth. Most people prefer a tolerable misery to the discomfort of breaking free. But real transformation demands confronting this head-on. Why? It's not a lack of willpower. It's your paradigm dragging you back to your comfort zone. The only way to break the cycle is to flood your mind with new information daily until this new belief takes root in your subconscious and becomes your new autopilot. You don't need to be brilliant, just persistent. I didn't become a millionaire because I'm a genius. I did it by relentlessly repeating thoughts, actions, and decisions aligned with wealth until the old paradigm faded away, and I still do it today. Need a practical example? Want to boost your income? Stop complaining about Mondays. Stop saying money doesn't buy happiness. That's the favorite excuse of those who've never known financial freedom. You verbalize it. You reinforce it. You think it, you plant it. You repeat it, you reap it. Every morning, before even getting out of bed, I'd stand there and say aloud, I am prosperous, I attract opportunities, I deserve abundance. I repeated it until I believed it, even when everything around me screamed otherwise. Can you imagine Steve Jobs changing the world if he'd accepted the paradigm that no degree, no voice? He shattered his paradigm and changed his life. When will it be your turn? I challenge you. Grab a notebook and describe your life without those limiting voices. Write as if there are no excuses. Read it every morning for 21 days. Watch how your old paradigm fights back. It'll try to distract you, tell you it's foolish. Smile. That's it. Taking control. I was a firefighter, a cleaner. I mangled my thumb with a power saw and made $1 million without a college degree, simply because I understood. The paradigm no longer commands me. If I could do it, you can too. I know exactly what it's like to wake up in a cold sweat thinking, what if I lose everything? What if I try something new and fail spectacularly? That's fear. The silent, insidious kind that masquerades as a wise counselor, but is actually a jailer. It doesn't need to scream. A whisper is enough. Stay where you are, it's safer. And you obey. I felt it acutely. When I considered quitting my stable firefighting job, I trembled inside. My mind screamed, "Bob, you have a family, bills to pay, you're crazy." I'd isolate myself, staring at my uniform, imagining how many would kill for that safe job I was about to abandon. That fear paralyzed me countless times. Whenever I almost gave up, I remembered this. Ignorance fuels fear. What we fear most is almost always what we understand least. People fear investing, but haven't read a single finance book. They fear public speaking, but haven't practiced. They fear starting a business, but haven't developed a plan. Fear feeds on the unknown, and the more we ignore it, the more it grows. Think of your mind as a factory. When we don't understand something, the factory produces worry, and worry, if nurtured, becomes fear. Fear unresolved breeds anxiety, and repressed anxiety over time leads to depression. It's a vicious cycle, but simple to understand. Ignorance creates worry. Worry turns to fear, fear to anxiety, anxiety to illness. And the saddest part?